It's time to discuss your short game and in particular your chipping. If you struggle with making consistent contact around the green, suffering from fat shots and thin shots, then the tips and concepts I'm going to share with you today are going to absolutely transform your short game around the green. When it comes to these short shots around the green, they look relatively straightforward, but many of you will experience the frustration of mishitting these shots too often, getting close to the green and then thinning the ball through the green, or hitting the ground before the ball and chunking your chip shot leads to frustration and, of course, higher scores. What can we do with this motion? How can we simplify it to ensure that your contact with the ball becomes much more consistent and your outcome becomes much more satisfactory? So the concept here, as per the video title, is landing the plane. What does that mean? I want you to visualize how the club head works on this arc, this shallow arc, if you like, back into the ball. There's a flat point at the bottom, like a plane coming into land, and then would gradually take off again, start to rise up. The club head works on an arc, and I think most of you will be able to visualize that. Okay, the club head working on this circle at the bottom of the swing here. I also want you to consider how the hands work on an arc as well, a similar shape of arc, because it's the hands that are controlling the club here. Your hands are on the club and you need to move them in a circle in a way that encourages the club head to hit the ground and interact with the turf in the way that you want to. So the basic premise of today, we're landing this plane, we're talking about arcs and circles, and we're going to try and help you with a couple of drills to enable you to make that contact with the ground subtle. It should touch the ground, the club should brush the ground for sure, but we want to avoid you driving that club, digging that club into the ground too much. So I've got a couple of drills for you that you can take to the driving range or the chipping green. I have an alignment stick here that I'm just going to drop on the ground, and this is just really for you to get a sense of the interaction that the bottom of the club, the space point, the sole of the club, or the bounce as it's referred to, how that bounce interacts with the ground. Now what I'm going to do is make a few swings, and my goal is just to allow the bottom of the wedge, the bounce of this wedge, to clip the stick as I go through. So hopefully you can hear that on the microphones picking that up, that the club head's just brushing that stick as it comes through. And with no ball there, there's a sort of more freedom in your part to be able to think about the club coming back up and away from the ground, not simply coming down to hit the ball. And that's where so many of the problems come from with the thinning and the topping and the chunking. All of those have come from driving this club down into the stick or down into the ground for too long. So if you can take this idea, a very simple concept of setting yourself up, moving this club around you, and as you come down, clipping the stick and exiting up with those hands, that's going to begin to give you that interaction, as I say, with the turf that you're looking for. The delivery of that club head's going to become much, much more efficient. And one of my absolute favorite drills for chipping would be the trail arm only drill. So take your setup, your normal chipping setup, and then take your left hand or your top hand off the club. And what you're going to do with that is place your lead hand across your trail arm, so I'm holding on to my bicep here, and just putting some pressure, holding that arm against my body. Now, what this is going to do is encourage the correct body pivot that's necessary to have good chipping action. So often, because the shot is so short and so small and requires so little power, golfers are freezing their body motion and assuming that this is just a hands and arms stroke, and as such they mess with the radius of their swing significantly, leading to all those poor shots that you're seeing. But in reality, even though it's a short shot, there's still a significant amount of body pivot on both the backswing and on the follow through. And this right arm only drill really encourages you to feel that by keeping the right arm just slightly flexed as it should be. Right arm's got some bend in it, and holding that against my side, holding that pressure between the tricep and the rib cage or the chest. As I move, I'm forced to move by pivoting my body. I can't really get away with just moving my arm independently of my body. The goal here and the purpose of this drill and what makes it so good is it synchronizes and sequences the arm and the body together. As you move correctly and the pivot improves, the arcing and the landing of the plane gets much, much easier to do. So once you've done a few of those clipping the ground, feel free to hit a couple from the grass. I find when I do this drill, my chip-in and contact improves significantly, and sometimes I consider even chipping one-handed when I play. I feel like I get such good contact that it's something I might consider doing when I'm out on the course. It's important there that the turning and the arm is matching. When I finish, you see how much I've rotated, my chest is looking at the camera, my handle of my club and my club head is also pointing towards the camera. There's no sign of the body moving faster than the club or the club getting thrown past the body. This is sequencing and synchronizing everything really nicely. If you find it difficult to hit the ball with that exercise, which can be quite tricky to start with, you could put it on a very, very small tee. That would be perfectly acceptable, maybe a centimetre or half an inch, quarter of an inch tee just above the grass, just to give you a little bit of a margin of error and allow you to get the sensation of how the club is coming down into land, hitting the runway, and then taking off again. Same with the hands, coming down towards the ground, leveling out, and then going up again. One more time. Really good contact. I mean, I can't complain about that at all. The other thing you can consider doing if you find holding the trail arm quite difficult, take something like a glove and place it under your arm. That also helps to just keep that connection intact, because sometimes it can be a little awkward to have this lead hand on the trail arm. And if you find it more comfortable, you can just pop the lead hand in your pocket, rest it on your lead leg. Whatever's comfortable, whatever works better for you. The concept here is the same. I'm still trying to keep this pressure and connection between the right arm and the body. This time my lead arm is on my pocket or on my leg. Again, same concept, pivot on the backswing, pivot on the follow through. Personally, I find holding the arm more comfortable, but this is an alternative for those of you that find that a little bit difficult. I'll do one more for you. The key here is in the pivot, lead arm on the leg or in the pocket, pivot back, pivot through. That's the concept. Landing the plane, shallowing out the contact, and making sure that once you've chipped these balls, you're not leaving tons of divots and tons of evidence that you were even there. Some of the best chippers will be able to chip the ball from a super, super tight lie, no grass at all, even from a surface as short as the putting green. And if you're able to chip from a very, very tight lie and practice this exercise, you'll be able to develop the skills necessary to learn how to land and deliver this bounce in such a way that the fat shots, the thin shots, and the top shots will become a thing of the past. There you have some ideas, concepts and drills around improving your chipping. The quality of your strike, of your chip shots around the green directly impacts your score, and we're going to be chipping the ball a lot from around the green. No matter how well you strike the ball, you may be only hitting 5, 6, 10 greens in regulation at best. So you are going to be faced with a lot of these shots, and you should know by now the importance of them. Give this exercise and give these drills your attention, and I think the improvement that you could see in your short game is quite significant. If any of these drills help improve your chipping, please get down in the comments and let me know. I love to hear your success stories, and if you enjoyed today's video and found it useful, do make sure you hit that like button. Another common question I get asked when it comes to the short game is, should we use the wrists or not when chipping? Well, if you want to know the answer to that question, you're going to go and watch this video next, which discusses the wrists in chipping in much more detail.